You're listening to Oh My Health, There Is Hope podcast.
When your heart is aching and your world is shaking, don't give up. No, no, don't give up.
Hello and welcome to Oh My Health, There Is Hope. I'm your host, Jana Short, and today I'm here with Peggy Moore. Peggy is a mother of 3, a wife of 30 years, and a critical care nurse of 20 years. Her life was crazy busy and she felt drained and overwhelmed until she found a better way to live her life. Peggy brought her life back to the center and learned to draw from her own personal power to build a vibrant and meaningful life full of purpose, peace, and power. And I love those P's. Those are my favorites. So thank you so much for being here today, Peggy.
Thank you so much for having me. I love those P's too. I say those all the time: peace, purpose, and power. I think they go beautifully together.
They do. I love it. It's a very powerful statement, but it's also a really emotional statement. So one of the first things we do on the show is we ask you to share your story of hope, because the show's Oh My Health, There Is Hope. And we were just talking about this. It doesn't have to be a health story of hope. It could be any story of hope that was a real pivotal moment for you that you might want to share with us.
Well, thank you so much for asking me that, because that really made me think a little bit, and it kind of covers a little bit in my bio. But I feel as a woman, I am much like other women, and I really let life get a little crazy. I let everyone else for so long tell me like who I should be and how I should act and what I should do, and how my children should act and how my career should go. And I was in this like rat race of always trying to satisfy everyone else's needs or expectations, or maybe even this goal of perfectionism that I thought I should show up and be, having that perfect house and the perfect kids and the perfect husband and the perfect marriage. And until I just was like, I can't live like this anymore. And I just had to stop and to really think about, take some time. I think we get so busy, we don't want to stop and take time with our own thoughts. And so I really had to stop and take some time with my own thoughts. And it was a process of figuring out who I wanted to be and how I wanted to show up in the world. And I think that is a pivotal experience for anyone. I think we all, as we grow up, we have so many people tell us, like they're supposed to. Adults teach us as we are growing up. Our parents guide us and direct us and teach us, but they also teach us and guide us, direct us using their perceived notions of the world, their biases, their opinions. And at some point in our life as we grow up, we have to take all those ideas, but we have to stop and figure out what we want. And my goal is to help other women find this earlier than I did. I think it wasn't until my 40s till I really started grappling with this. And I've spent about the last 10 years. And let me tell you, my life is so much more full of peace, purpose, and power because I figured out who I wanted to be.
I love that, by the way. It's an incredible story and an incredible message. And I think a lot of this stems from when we were kids, because we were supposed to get the best grades, right? Our parents want us to put our best foot forward when we step out of the house. And I'm a perfectionist too, and it's really hard to be okay with it just being okay.
Absolutely. Perfectionism, I think, is one of the biggest things I hear when talking with different women in my coaching practice and just as friends. And I know for myself, it was that it was stemmed to that feeling of never being enough. And so I was always reaching for something more, being a better mother. I was always like, I could be a better mother. I could be a better wife. I could be a better student or a better nurse. I could be better. I could be better. I could better. And you just get in this spinning cycle where you're never sitting back and saying, this is my life, and enjoying your life and taking a breath and looking at those kids and just hugging them and loving them and just being with them instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I got to get dinner made and I got to get the laundry done and I got to do this and I got to do that. And so it's this process of really stopping and enjoying your life right now, not waiting for the next thing and not wanting for the next thing, and never in your own mind being enough. That's what perfectionism is about. When you have this standard that's set so high that you can't ever reach it. And so when you've spun your wheels so many times trying to reach something that you can't reach, at some point you've got to stop and accept that you're doing the best you can, accept that progress is better than perfection, and accept that we're all human.
So I again love that message, but I'm going to play devil's advocate here a little bit because I come from a place that I can always be better. I can always do better because otherwise I feel like I'm stagnant. But there has to be a healthy balance between that because again, I wish that every woman listening to this, if you're under 40, really hear, because I was the same way. When you get older, you're like, ugh, I don't care what they think. The house isn't right. I don't care. But you get to a certain age where you're like, I just don't care. I wish you could get to that stage so much quicker because your life would be so much more joyful. But having said that, if you're like, I do believe I can always do better and I want to be in that state, but I also, after being really ill and understanding the importance of being in the moment, it's way more important than perfecting the way my house looks or perfecting my makeup for the day or perfecting, whatever my next perfection job is. What would be a great way to learn balance in that?
Yes, I absolutely agree that balance. So I love to challenge myself. I have lots of goals and lots of dreams and things that I want to do in my life. And I think we absolutely need that to help us grow and progress. But I think coming to terms with the angst of that. So I no longer have that anxiety and pressure and spinning mind all the time because I've come to find peace in where I'm at and peace in where I want to go. And I've been able to tap into what my purpose is and use my power to, those P's are going to come all through this because I love them so much. But there's a balance in that. And it's a recognizing, I believe it's a recognizing that it's okay to be who you are today. You can still have goals and you can still have dreams. I'm not saying to not have goals and dreams and to better yourself, but to be comfortable with who you are. I think that is a huge thing, especially for women. Is just being comfortable with who you are and knowing that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to have a day that you want to spend in your pajamas. It's so funny as now that I'm older and COVID has been a blessing in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, it hasn't been so much fun, but it's been a blessing in some ways that I've actually spent some whole days in my pajamas. And I don't think I've ever done that in my entire life because I thought, oh, I can't do that. I have to get up and I have to be dressed and I have to do this and I have to be this way. And so to just be able to relax a little bit and say, oh, it's okay. I can't go anywhere. I'm going to stay at home. I'm going to be in my pajamas and I'm going to take a rest day. I'm going to listen to my body and I'm going to rest, do some self-reflection, write in my journal, whatever, but take some time for that. So you might have to redirect me on the question. I think I went a little off.
You're good. That is so good. I have to tell you a little secret of mine. But when I was literally dying, I got up every morning, got dressed, made my bed, and then laid on it because what if I wanted to make sure I looked good, the bed looked good. So who cares, right?
I know. It's so, yeah, the perspective, when you can change that perspective, it changes your world.
So I want to talk about your P's because I think they're very powerful. And like I said, they really evoke a lot of emotion. Let's just use the first one, peace. What does peace mean to you?
Oh my gosh, I love feeling peace, which I don't think I felt until my 40s or more. That feeling, that sense of being grounded. So, one of the things that I really had to work on is, like I said, who I want to be and how I want to show up in the world. What are my core beliefs and values? Getting down to that foundation of what I believe and how I want to show up in the world. I want to live with integrity. I want to be kind to others. I want to love others. And that starts with number one, knowing yourself and knowing what you want. And then when you think about how you act or approach other people or other situations, if those are my core values, then I'm going to show up with integrity. I'm going to show up with kindness. I'm going to give other people the benefit of the doubt because that's the kind of person that I want to be. And that brings me peace. And I think another huge part of peace is that living authentically. We can live authentically when we know who we are, when we're not listening to what everyone else is telling us what we should be, and we really accept and embrace who we are and how we want to be in this world. And that takes a little bit of thought process, a little bit of journaling, a little bit of really coming to terms and listening to your heart and your soul instead of all that other stuff. And when you can let go of all that other stuff, it brings you back to who you are and it gives you peace.
So I love that, by the way. I feel very peaceful just listening to it. So, what about purpose?
So, purpose, along with that, when you're talking about who you want to be and how you want to show up in this world, it gives you your purpose. So, my purpose is I am a helper of other people. That's why I became a nurse. That's what I loved about about being a mother. And what I love about being a nurse is I'm able to help other people. Now, of course, I have to take care of myself first, but that is what I define as my purpose. What drives my behavior? So Simon Sinek, I'm sure you've heard of him. He has a great TED Talk on the power of why. And I love it because all of us can figure out our why. What drives you? What makes you excited to get up in the morning? When you plan your day, what are the things that, oh my gosh, this is going to be so fun today? You know, for me, it's I get to work on my podcast, or I get to write content, or I get to work with this specific client, or I'm working on some projects in school right now that I just love. And so, because my goal is to help other people, I'm using my talents, my strengths, my energy to teach and educate others. So that's taking my purpose and knowing my purpose, what I want to do in this world. And it can be anything that you want. But I think knowing your purpose, knowing your why grounds you. And that also brings peace.
I love that. And I'm going to just expand a little bit on your why, because I think it's really important for people to understand that once you tap into your why, there really is no stopping you. And you can be peaceful and powerful, and there's no stopping you in the middle when you know your why. And when I tell people this, I tell them on New Year's Eve, the first thing people say is, I'm going to go to the gym every day and I'm going to lose 20 pounds, 30 pounds. And by the end of January, they're done. But who's still in the gym in June? That bride who's envisioned herself in that wedding gown since she was a little girl, going down, all the people looking at her in this beautiful day. She had a why for that gym. And she's there in June getting ready for her wedding and, like, you know, not missing an appointment and eating healthy. And that why took her beyond those few weeks in January to hit her goal in June, because she had a really powerful why. So I love that you tapped in on that, because I think it's so important that we don't borrow someone else's why, right? We figure out what our real why was. And now the big word, right? The scary word sometimes. What does power mean to you?
Power, which I'm so glad you asked this question, because when I first started coaching and I went to a coaching class and we talked about the name of our program, and my program is called Discover Your Personal Power. And that I got that question, well, what do you mean by power? I don't want more power. Like, what are you talking about? And I had to do some explaining. And so I try to do a little bit better job now of explaining what I mean by power. And what I mean, so we have this piece when we know who we are and how we want to show up in this world, and that gives us our purpose, and that is what gives us our power. When you know who you are, how you want to show up in the world, what your purpose is, what your values are, what your core beliefs are, you're able to show up in the world in a way that you want to, which is powerful. You're able to create boundaries that protect your self-care and your compassion, but also allow you to give to others, and that's power. So I think that each woman needs to realize that they have power within them, power to do whatever it is they feel that their purpose is in life. I feel that so many women, because they let other people tell them who they should be, have this "I'm not enough." I hear that so often from people. I'm just not good enough. I'm not enough. I'm not enough to be loved. I'm not enough for this, for that. And I'm like, but you are enough. And when you realize that you are enough, it gives you the power to embrace your purpose, which brings you peace.
Oh my gosh, girl, you're telling the world exactly how I really feel too. But it took me years to get there, right? I literally was 50 when a whole new world opened up to me because it was forced to. And here's a secret she's not telling you. Every single person has that kind of power within them. They just either don't recognize it, they're afraid to tap into it, or we have blocks keeping us from using it, right? So we all have that beautiful power inside of us. Tell us a little bit about how you're showing up now and serving women and helping them tap into that.
Yeah, so I am so excited. I have a coaching practice, so I'm able to work with different women one-on-one. I've had several groups. I love groups. That's my favorite thing, is getting women together and talking about this stuff and allowing them to kind of talk to each other, throw different ideas to each other, and support each other. Number one, we all as humans all have human experiences, right? We some days are better than others. Some days we feel peace, and some days we don't feel so peaceful. But sharing your story with others is so powerful. And I love getting groups of women together so that we can talk about peace, purpose, and power, or talk about limiting beliefs, or talk about core values and goals and things like that, and kind of bounce them off each other. And women are like, oh, you feel that way? I feel that way too. And so giving them a safe space to open up. I feel like, I'm 50-ish also. So I have a different perspective than, say, my daughter, who is in her 20s. And when she is with her friends, there's still that, oh, I'm going to say something funny and no one's going to like me and blah, 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 blah. They still have that chatter still in their head. And I'm like, oh, we got to get rid of that chatter. We got to realize that we are all human. We all make mistakes. We don't need to put up this show. We can be honest. We can be vulnerable. We can be authentic. And that's where true connection lies. So one of the things, I have a online coaching program that talks and helps individuals work together to work on it's a puzzle piece, and they work on mental health, emotional health, social health, and physical health. So all those puzzle pieces kind of go together to make you whole and help you figure out your purpose and your power and bring you peace. And so the different programs that I do, the groups that I do, all that is my way of educating others and helping others so that they can find their peace, purpose, and power a little bit earlier than I did in life, because it's wonderful.
One of the questions I want to ask you is how old did you say your daughter was?
27.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time and give advice to your 27-year-old self, knowing what you know, because how many people say, if I could go back to do it all over again, but I'd have to know what I know now and the world would be mine, right? What would you
Right.
go back and give yourself? What advice would you give yourself at that?
I think the most important thing I would tell myself is not to take everything so seriously. Like, everything's not the end of the world. Oh my goodness. When I was 27, I had 3 children. I was in the middle of nursing school, and I remember an incident. It was a clinicals, and clinicals where you go in and you take care of the patient. And so, and I was kind of new. I literally had found out the day before that I had a tumor, a 5 centimeter thyroid tumor that I was going to have surgery for. And I had fought with my surgeon because I was like, I can't not take finals. I can't finish school. I got to finish school. I can't have surgery. And he was like, okay, let me just tell you this. He's like, I will give you 2 weeks. You get 2 weeks to do whatever you need to do. But after that, you're having surgery whether you want it or not, because this thing has to come out. So where were my priorities? Hello, wasn't even thinking about my health. Also, so I had that in the back of my mind going on, and I went in to do something with the patient, and I made a mistake, and I had someone with me. They fixed it. It was no problem. We came out. But literally, I got through the rest of the day. I got to my car and I just broke down and cried. Life was going to be over. I was never going to be a good nurse. I was never going to be able to. So much pressure I put on myself. And nursing is very important. I would never, I mean, I was an ICU critical care nurse. You have to know your stuff. But, and the mistake I made wasn't even that big of a mistake, but it was that perfectionism that was in my head that was driving me. I can't have surgery because I have to finish clinicals. I have to do this. I can't take care of my health because this is what I want to do. It was that I would go back and tell myself, take a deep breath and realize it's all going to be okay. You know, we've all had different things happen in our life and I think when I was in my 20s, everything kind of like teenagers, you know, she looked at me wrong and that's the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. You've got a whole decades more of life to live, and it's going to be okay.
I love that. And if you can pull that together, if you can get yourself in that place of peace, understand what your purpose is, and then take that power to move your life forward. Oh my gosh, let me tell you, when that happened for me, people are like, I try to do it. I keep hitting this roadblock. When I leaned into what that was for me, and I just didn't care about anything else, the world opened up like I had never seen it before. And it was an amazing journey. And I'm literally going to be 60 in a couple of months. And I have a daughter who's 42. And I think about, why did it take me so long? Why? But I understand now that that was my journey, right? Figuring it out took me longer than most. And it was okay, because that was it took to get me where I'm at. So I'm okay with that. Well, I love that you're doing this. Well, first of all, before I ask you how people can reach you, who is looking for you? I want to know, what are you working with, women and men, mostly women? And what are they looking to get when they come to your coaching programs?
So when I advertise my coaching program, I am looking for women, mainly in their maybe late 20s to, to my age, so 50s or 60s, women that are in this rat race, and feeling overwhelmed with life, feeling stuck, feeling like, oh my gosh, everyone else is telling me what to do. I need to regroup and ground myself and center myself, and I want to tell them that there is a better way to live. But I will have to say, interesting enough, in my groups that I've put out, I actually have 3 or 4 guys kind of floating around there, and they bring great content to the group, and they struggle just like we struggle. I think because I'm a woman and I have all the women crazy spaghetti thoughts, all over in my head, I relate more to women. But I think we all, every single one of us, has to figure out their purpose and their power. And one of the things I like to tell people is, I am a spiritual person. I don't talk about it a ton in my practice, but I do believe that God has a plan for each of us, that we have a purpose to be here on life, in life. And if we are broken or frazzled or overwhelmed or feel stuck, we can't do that. We can't help that person along the road. We can't be there for that purpose or that task that we need to do if we don't take care of ourselves first. So taking care of ourselves and finding our purpose and our power, which brings us so much peace, and as you said, opens up the world. And that is why I get so excited about it and want to share it with everyone and just be like, hey, there's a better way. I promise there is a better way. Let's work together and we will talk about this and we will figure it out. And your eyes will be opened and life will be so much better.
I love it. Where can people find you?
You can find me at discoveryourpersonalpower.org or PeggyMooreLifeCoaching.com.
So we will both those. We'll have all of that in the show notes so that nobody misses it. But just in case they're just listening, it's super easy to find because it's your name.
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I love your message of hope. I love your story and I love what you're doing, like putting that ripple effect out in the world that heals people and leads them to their purpose. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful chatting with you.
I loved it.
Thanks for listening to the Oh My Health, There Is Hope podcast. Make sure to visit Jana's website, bestholisticlife.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, or listen there, so you'll never miss an episode. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you simply tell a friend about the show. That'll help too. Let's change the world together, one health expert at a time. Looking forward to seeing you next time.